Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.
Good morning. It's Rita at the Travel Nurse Channel here on Tuesday, the 9th, I believe. And it went so fast. Yeah, March 9th. And it's a little after 10. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I have nobody to blame but myself. Computer was fine. Well, the computer wasn't fine. I had a missing password. But at any rate, we're here generally at 10. Today it's closer to 10:20 for about an hour every Tuesday morning live on Facebook, and also live, not live, but archived in Facebook, many episodes, since it's every Tuesday, Travel Nurse Channel. But in the archives you can find us any episode you want. So today is live, and then last Tuesday they're all archived for the past couple of years. In addition to Facebook, we're on YouTube. So lots of Travel Nurse Channel episodes and subjects, etc. My name is Rita. I've been a nurse for like many years. And I like to talk about things that may or may not interest. I hope they interest. I need to hear from you guys, because I'll pick subjects that have come up in my career, that I talk to other nurses, colleagues, people in the healthcare realm that concern them, and primarily focusing on the travel industry for healthcare, because you're unique and vastly, immensely, I guess is the word, important part of the healthcare group. And so this is more focused for you, but I think it would pertain to anyone that is involved in healthcare, from patient care assistants and patient care techs and EMTs, and on up the ladder to your specialty nurses, and even the docs, the physician's assistants, the all of the different team members. It's really, it's what we do, it's what we're about, and it's the things we face, both professionally and ethically and humanly. So today, I have to say, I had a couple of things happen over the weekend, over the past few days, that didn't give me a lot of time to research. So I really, let me open up my comments line. I really am going to encourage you to go ahead on Facebook if you can, and let me know what you're thinking about what we're going to discuss. And what we're going to discuss is attitude. We're going to discuss attitude. So I just have a title up there that says, "Hi, how are you?" And that's where it all starts. And how important is your attitude? You could have years and years and a lot of bandwidth, if you will, of information and disease processes and treatments and experiences, you know, so you could be a real brainiac and have all of that, but not be able to share it with the people you work with the people you take care of, so the patients and clients, as well as your other team members. So, so tell you what inspired me when I was thinking about this last night. So I've had a little bit of pain over the last few days, because I'm pretty sure I broke my big toe. I actually bruised both feet, and I know why. I think I'm being careful, but I'm not. So it's getting ready for bed. I had a very busy weekend. I did a lot of caregiving this weekend, and I had brushed my teeth and taken out my nighttime vitamins and cleaned up my bathroom and was dressed for bed. And what is part of when you're dressed for bed? It's either pajamas or a robe or nightgown or whatever you wear, your tighty-whities, whatever it is you like to wear. I was wearing pajamas and a robe because it's still chilly. It's Southern California. Gets down to the 40s at night. And a pair of wonderful knitted slippers that my friend made me. But I hadn't put them all the way on. They're sort of like sock slippers, so I just put them over my toes. And I came into the bedroom, and my husband was there. He has a lounge chair next to his side of the bed. That was his Christmas gift. And so I didn't really look at my feet. And I, sort of took an extra step around him, and both of my front toes slid because I didn't have the slippers on, and they didn't have any rubberized bottoms under my area rug. My Persian, not really, it's from Costco. My Persian carpet, I don't know what it is, like an 9 by 11 at the foot of my bed, and caught it and flew, and my toes were stuck. I don't know what the heck happened, but one of my toes blew up like a little tennis ball, and I live with my daughter and my son-in-law, and they came running. Fortunately, I didn't wake up the baby, and one of them brought me ice, and I sat there and moaned for a few minutes and elevated and did what do you do? What do you do for sprain, strain, bruise, and potentially a broken toe? You ice. That's the acronym. ICE. I period, C period, E period. And I did that, and I took some ibuprofen, and I elevated. So ICE stands for ice, the first letter. I is for ice. C is for compression, and E is for elevation. So that's what I did, and had a really rough night. The compression I did with my own little ace bandage and wrapping the big toe on the second toe. I don't know what happened. Must have gotten tweaked in the night and the pain started feeling like burning, and I ripped that thing off and made it through the night. So here I am 2 days later. This happened Sunday night to tell the story. But why was I so tired and clumsy and so forth? Well, I spent a lot of my Saturday, I want to say from about 9:45 to about 6 p.m. with my cousin, first in an urgent care for about 3 hours. And then I'm almost always wearing a watch, and I'm almost always have a phone with me. I really should set the clock when these events start, because I'm saying about 3 hours. I don't know. I think we got to the emergency room, and then I had a long wait. They tried to connect me over there and so forth. Anyway, so it just was a long day. My cousin, as it turns out, broke her hip. So she's at the hospital today. She had her surgery on Sunday. She was admitted Saturday evening, and she's quite a super trooper. And today, probably more than likely today, it almost happened yesterday, but the surgeon and I talked, and we thought, let her rest. She's very, very stoic about her pain. She doesn't like to take pain meds, and she tolerates like a level 7, 8 of pain without hardly even moaning. So she's really a trooper. But anyway, she will be getting some physical therapy today, and then we'll reevaluate after that. So the reason I'm thinking about attitude is because from 9:45 on Saturday morning through yesterday, because yesterday was contact, well, through Saturday and through yesterday and probably again today, I met with admissions people. I like tick them off. Admissions people, medical assistants, RNs, PAs, more RNs. Well, other RNs, you know, how they do their team. So you get one, then you get another one. Physicians, trauma doctor, hospitalist, social worker, discharge planners, who was happened to be an RN, and I will actually continue on with the rehab doctors and nurses and continue on with the placement specialist and the services that are available, because my cousin is does not have a lot of means. She's a status post head trauma, traumatic brain injury person, TBI, right? Traumatic brain injury. She's very, very bright. And when you first meet her, you think she's quirky, but she's more than that. She's more than that. She has a lot of physical and mental health issues, and she's really, really a great gal. But she needs support and assistance, and so that's why I do that, because her dad is gone and her mom is not available to do that. So, so what made me think about attitude? Because in those many hours, in those many contexts, oh, and I'm leaving out EMTs, X-ray technologists, special ultrasound, transporters. We met a lot of people. And then we spent a lot of time waiting. So while you're waiting, you think of all the questions you have, right? So I want to say one RN stood out. And she was an RN that used to work in the emergency room where we headed, but we met her in the urgent care. And the reason for that is that she qualified for retirement age. And when COVID occurred, and she was still a fabulous ER nurse, she had some immune compromised situation herself. And they kept telling her, you have to leave, or you have to back up and just be administrative. You can't be with the patient population anymore. And so she, considered what she was advised to do, and she couldn't see herself doing administration. So she was kind of stalling. And then her supervisors got wind that she was still working, and they're like, shame me, shame me, shame me. So she made a decision to stay clinical, but to move to a urgent care where they're not as impacted with the COVID patients. I mean, they're certainly practicing everything they should. They're behind shields when you go through admission. They're wearing N95s when you get into the clinical area. When my cousin and I got into, a room at the urgent care, they're washing a lot, they're gloving, and taking all the precautions they should, but they're not spending a lot of time with COVID patients. So, so that's what she opted to do, and her attitude was wonderful. Many of the people we encountered, I want to say the majority, were, I don't want to say friendly, but courteous, and many of them smiled. My cousin is, I don't know if you agree with me. If you want to comment, you can comment. We're live, actually. Yeah, I think my comments, my comment viewer is open, so I'd love to hear from you. But many of the people we encountered, from admissions to doctors to techs to nurses and all the different specialties in between, were certainly courteous and informative. Some of them seemed to be preoccupied. Not too many of them gave you a lot of eye contact. And many of them were efficient. So those are all good things. So to be courteous and efficient and available, some of them were available. I just hoping to hear from you. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I'm not shy. And there's no comment and no question that is inappropriate. If it's off topic, that's fine. If I have an answer, I'll answer you right away. If I don't, I'll research it, and I'll be back Tuesday, or we can email. So Travel Nurse Channel is on Facebook right now live. You can call 800-737-6518. I can actually patch you into the live stream. I mean, I can try. I'm not a techno genius, but I can get some help. We can try, or we can set up another time, and you can chat with me. My email is Rita, R-I-T-A, Rita at travelnursechannel.com. Rita at travelnursechannel.com. No the. And yeah, so I'd love to hear from you. Oops, I moved the camera. Stop that, Rita. Stop that. That's better. So anyway, I'm hearing from Paul. I think he's saying the Travel Nurse Channel is going to create a web map so nurses can check off their working history. Oh, yeah. So if you want to sign up with Travel Nurse Channel, absolutely do so, because on our website and on Facebook, there are sponsors. There are people that are recruiters and, people that that have accommodations for travelers, you know, people with homes and condos and so forth. So a lot of people that travel, nurses and travel therapists and so forth, travelers, healthcare travelers, that that you can interconnect with. So if you do want to sign up with Travel Nurse Channel, I welcome you to do it. Go to the website, www.travelnursechannel, and if you see the web map, which is being created, so I don't know if that's available today or will be soon, you can let others know locations where you have worked. That's kind of cool. Off subject though. Okay, so some of the nurses and some of the people we encountered were available and some of them were not. And so I'll start when we were in urgent care. When we were in urgent care, it wasn't long before my cousin was evaluated by somebody saying, what is the cost of getting your RN degree? And I'm also hearing that the web map is in the process. So if you sign up with us, you can't put in your history of where you worked on the map quite yet. And you can certainly list it in comments and so forth if you're putting in a profile. But look for the map. That'll be fun to see where everybody's working. The cost of getting an RN degree. Well, it's not cheap. and the process can be timely depending on where you are, because a lot of the schools are impacted, and so there are waiting lists. I know a lot of people getting their degree are actually working on prerequisites and some requisites for the program to get that out of the way. So by the time they get into the program, they're just doing their clinical studies in time. So I don't have an answer for that. I will come back to you with that, but I don't think it's cheap. And I guess it certainly depends on if you're going to a private institution or if you're going to a state or a community program. So I'll come back with some of that information. I know my daughter is in the occupational therapy assistant program and is spending tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not sure exactly, like in the 50,000 range. So she is inheriting a little debt, but loving it. She's on the dean's list and seeing light at the end of the tunnel. She's more than halfway through her program, and she's really, really working hard at it, and I'm very, very excited for her. So that's occupational therapy. RN, most of you are in a BSN program. Some of you are an associate program, so that would make a difference. You're going to probably want to go for that BSN or more, or maybe go for your master's. But so I'll have to break it down and give you some ideas. But I do want to say, I do believe it's going to be, in California for sure, it's going to be a waiting list, number one, and it's probably going to be tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a commitment. And then you can travel and start to pay off your loan and have great experiences. So, because there are definitely more fantastic experiences than others. So back to the topic of attitude. Okay, so you can be efficient and you can be courteous and you can be knowledgeable, but are you available? And do you love what you're doing? And does it show in your attitude? Okay, so one person really stood out, and she was an RN. Another person, I would have to say, if I had to list the best experience we had, would be the trauma doctor, who was quite serious, but very available. So, so that's it. Those are choices. Those are attitude choices, and I get it. I get it because I was a nurse for so many years. I started in the 1970s, and I haven't really stopped. I was clinical up until about 2016, 18, somewhere in there. I was still doing a little bit of clinical stuff. And of course, I do clinical things for all my family members, you know, free advice and free labor. I always say you get what you pay for, because a financial advisor said that to me years ago, because I was asking him a bunch of questions, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I could talk to you about that, Rita, but you know, it's free advice and it's worth about that much." Zero, right? Okay, so, but I will tell you, when I'm speaking to you, it's based on facts and knowledge and my own experience. So what's true for me and my experience may be different for you. If it's a fact, I'll tell you it's a fact, and a lot of my fact finding comes from either the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control, various nursing organizations like the National League of Nurses, the American Nurses Organization, so things like that, or a CCRN or whatever. So I will back up the facts with resources, and when it's my opinion, it's my opinion. So this particular topic is my opinion, but it's based on many, many years of being an adult, many, many years since 1977 of being an RN. And for many of those years, like that's more than 40 years, isn't it? 87, 97, 2000, 87, 97, 2000. Yeah. More than 40 years that I've carried RN, put those little initials after my name, and worked in the field. My experience is based on all of that. And the one RN that stood out, loved what she was doing, really listened. My cousin is a slow talker, so so she goes off topic a lot. Oh, I do that too. Oh, let me wash my hands, touching my face. Yeah, always keep your sanitizer nearby and wash your hands a lot. Okay, that's just common sense, and during COVID, it's needed, especially. So she's a slow talker. She goes off topic. She gets distracted easily. And this nurse was so patient and complimented her, and wanted to know what our relationship was, wanted to know if we had any questions, and went above and beyond. So because we were in the urgent care for quite some time, there was an x-ray that had to be done. There was brief history, because a lot of it is in the computer. What else was done? There were no IVs. There were no treatments in particular, but we did meet a PA, 2 RNs, a tech that brought her to x-ray, admissions people, at least 1 or 2 people there. So we met a half a dozen people, and we met at least 2 RNs. But this RN stood out because she was congenial. She smiled. She shared. It was obvious that she loved what she did. And when she shared, we learned that she was an ER nurse and she wasn't ready to retire. She really liked what she was doing, but she was compromised. She had an something made her compromised, and she was encouraged by her supervisors to not be clinical anymore. And what she did is she made a switch out of the ER to a different location, to an urgent care within the same health system, and was still doing a great job. So she helped my cousin feel at ease. She helped my cousin feel like she mattered. She spoke directly to her and asked, do you mind if I speak to your cousin because she's your power of attorney and she can help me with some of these answers? And of course, my cousin trusts me a lot. Thank God she trusts me a lot. And she allowed us to talk, and we talked in the same room with my cousin, so there were no secrets. And she shared, and she went above and beyond. So while we were in that room, and she went to X-ray, and she came back, and the minutes were going by, and then the hours were going by, and we hadn't really heard whether the X-ray, whether there was a fracture or not. My cousin had a bowl of cereal for breakfast at like 7 in the morning, and now it's like, you know, pushing 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, can my cousin have a glass of water or some ice chips? And I didn't just ask this nurse, I had asked 2 or 3 other people. And so she went to get it, and then she got busy. And then when I saw her again, I go, is it okay? Can she have ice chips or what? Oh, and she ran and got it the second time. So even though she forgot and we waited a little longer, she went and got it. Whoever else we had asked, we never saw again, and we never got the water or the ice. So then what else happened? The PA came and gave us the not so good news that there was a fracture and that we'd have to be now admitted to the ER and how that would transpire. And because there's a computer in the room, we asked, would we be able to see the X-ray? The PA said no, she couldn't pull it up on that particular computer, but that she would bring us a copy. And she eventually did. And then my cousin, being acute as she is, having all her, oh, here I go touching my face again. I have itchy eyes. Sorry, folks. My glasses always seem crooked. I think my face is crooked. So my cousin wanted her to sign her name. And so she took the picture with her and didn't bring it back. And then we waited like another 30 or 40 minutes. And we knew that we were going to be transferred. We didn't want to leave without the picture. The picture was a black and white X-ray of the hip, and which seemed to me looked terrible, looked like my cousin should have been moaning and groaning, and she wasn't. She really wasn't. She was concerned. I knew she had some anxiety, and I was glad I was able to be at her bedside there. So the next thing that happened that made this nurse a little bit more exceptional, she did something she didn't have to do. She took time out of her busy day. We were not the only people in that urgent care. And everybody was behind closed doors, so you know they were busy doing something. So because we were in that room for almost 3 hours, and I knew that we were going to be going, or she would be going in an ambulance, and I would be following her to the ER a couple of miles away, I stuck my head out the door to see if anybody was going by in the hallway, because I didn't want my cousin to leave without her picture of her broken hip, her fractured hip. She actually fractured the head of the femur. So we called it the cone and the ice cream. She cracked the ice cream, and so they were going to put a pin in it. We didn't know what they were going to do at that point. Her acetabulum, I hope I'm saying that right. You know, the hip bones were okay, bruised more than likely, but from the impact. Well, anyway, so this nurse, well, in the meantime, when I stuck my head out in the hall, I saw 2 nurses pretty far down the hall. I want to say maybe 4 yards down the hall at a nursing station, and they were busy and they weren't looking my way. And then finally one of them stood up, and he was walking in my direction, but walking to another room. And I said, excuse me. I said, our nurse was going to bring us something. And he goes, I'll get your nurse. And I said, well, we don't need her, but she's got something. I'll get you. He was so brusque, you know. I'm taking care of something. I'll get your nurse. So, yeah, okay, whatever. And would he or would he not? Because he went into that room. I don't know. But at any rate, when this lovely nurse came by. This exceptional nurse came by. I asked her about the picture, that the PA was going to sign it because that's a request my cousin made. But what she and she did get it for us and bring it back signed, which was wonderful. But what she did that she didn't need to do, that was above and beyond, because of my cousin's history and her, physical and mental health issues, and she's keep in mind, TBI, traumatic brain injury. That she spoke to the head nurse, told me her name at the ER where we were going, and that would it be possible for me to be able to be by my cousin's side in the ER? Because again, you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what kind of treatments and so forth they're going to have planned for her. And she kind of needed me to soothe her, to explain things to her, excuse me, to just be present. And how wonderful that now I'm going, and it's COVID out there. People, you don't get to go in the hospital. I can't visit her now in the hospital at all. And I didn't get right in, but I eventually got into the ER to be with my cousin. And she still needed more x-rays and had to meet more people and have things like an IV started and complete another admissions process, insurance cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That this woman made adjustments in her day, in her schedule, to give my cousin and I exceptional care, and all with a smile, just as pleasant as she could be. We never felt as though were rushed, although I saw her almost running in the halls. I mean, people are busy out there. I remember, and you maybe, if you're ER nurses or med-surg nurses or long-term care nurses or ICU nurses, you guys are busy. Nurses, technicians, you're busy. I know you are. And God bless you all. So where are we? We've got at least 10 more minutes. I would love to hear from you. Thank you to that lovely, lovely nurse. I don't like to use anybody's name without their permission. Let me tell you about the trauma doctor. Thank goodness. So I waited outside on hold on my cell phone, and I was really concerned about losing power on my cell phone, because at this point it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My cousin has arrived in the ER. I'm waiting to speak to the head nurse because I'm not allowed through the doors due to COVID. And I call and I explain to the nurse that the lovely nurse at the urgent care spoke to the head nurse, blank blank is her name, and that I was power of attorney for my cousin. It was important that I be there to help her, and apparently pre-permission had been given. I gave her my name, told her where I was, and that nurse that I was speaking to put me on hold. And I was on hold for 29 point, I don't know how many minutes, and I went, I'm going to lose power on my phone. So I hung up. I called back again, and in a short amount of time, the head nurse came out, and I was able to be with my cousin just in the nick of time, because in the next 15 minutes, the trauma doctor came by to speak to me, and I told him who I was, and we stepped outside my cousin's room. I gave him some history and so forth, and told him how she was very tolerant to pain, that her short-term memory was not good, but her long-term memory was pretty good, and etc., and her attitude towards medicine, and her things about her psychosis that were, positive and negative, and that trust, building trust and confidence, and all of these approaches would be very important in communicating with my cousin. And the doctor was great and informative, and he did something I don't think he had to do. He went in, he examined my cousin, he wrote his special marks on the right leg. It was her right leg, her right hip, so that tomorrow for surgery there would be no question about which hip to work on. And then he called me with his phone, his direct phone, and said he would call me in the morning after the surgery and give me an update, but that if I needed to call him at any time, I could. I mean, what an attitude. What an attitude of caring. What an attitude of like, this is my job, and, this is the box that I'm in to do my job, but I can add kindness to it. I can add, in addition to professionalism, I can add an extra piece of humanity to it. I can be understanding of your special needs. And I didn't call him until I had to. I knew when she was going in for surgery. I was not able to speak to her before surgery. And he had already given me a rundown that he was going to put this pin in and it was going to take 15 minutes. But I already know the pre-op and the post-op and all of that take way more than 15 minutes. And because he was the trauma guy on for the weekend, that more than likely on Sunday morning, he might have to do another surgery. He might have just come from surgery when I met him on Saturday late afternoon. At any rate, I waited a goodly amount of time, a couple of hours post her surgery, and I called and I got his nurse, and he was scrubbing in, sure enough. So I just was able to catch him and find out how the surgery went, and it went pretty darn well. So attitude. I'm so grateful for the great attitude of the nurse I met in the urgent care. And I am so grateful for the attitude of the trauma doctor that I met in the emergency room. And I am grateful for all the professionals that took care of my cousin and were very courteous to me. But those two really stood out. I mean, many of the other nurses were rushed, were clipped, were not understanding of what I was asking. Didn't feel that my questions were significant, that they would deal with it later, and actually later never came. One of the things that's important to my cousin and to me as her caregiver is that I have to share information with other family members. So I like to get everything in writing and not rely on, what I remember and don't remember. And so I did not get any discharge papers from the urgent care, except for the copy of the picture of the broken fractured hip. So I asked in the ER, first I asked a tech, a transport tech. I said, if you see the nurse, can you tell her I have a question? I was hoping to get documentation on our urgent care visit. And she said, oh, I think you can get that on the computer. I said, I don't have access to the computer. So eventually the nurse came and was very rushed and said, you can sign off for that. You can sign permission slips for that and get copies of that, but we'll take care of that later. And I thought, okay, that's not urgent. I get it. We're in an ER, so not urgent. And then towards the end of the day, I had to leave because my cousin was being admitted. And I posed that question again. I was hoping to get documentation. And the nurse did not come and talk to me. She sent the messenger, which was that little transporter girl again, and said that that could be taken care of later. Hence, I don't have paperwork, but eventually I will. So, so I get it. I get it that people are busy. I get it that there's prioritization. But sometimes you do have an extra few minutes. And if you could share, if you could be available to your clients and your patients, if you could try to make their stay more comfortable when they have high anxiety or mental health issues, memory issues, like my cousin, you stand out. There's nothing wrong with anybody that took care of us. My cousin, I felt like she was in good hands. I could go home and, sigh and have a glass of wine and have some dinner and relax a little bit. It was too late to take a walk. I can't walk in the dark. I'm too clumsy, and it's not always safe when you're on your own. But I could relax a little bit and know that she was, I could trust that she was going to get good care, get the pain control she needed and the surgery she needed and the treatment she needed. But I really have to say the attitude of all the people we met, which had to be close to a dozen people in those maybe 8 hours that we were, let's see, she got into her room like 6. We started at about 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I was with my cousin, and we had a day of 8 or 9 hours of urgent and emergent care. And so we met dozens of people. 2 of them really stood out because their attitude was so caring, so thoughtful, so available, and so above and beyond. And what I want to say, travel nurses, is I know you are that way. And you may not be that way all of the time, 100% of the time, every minute of your day. But when you are, and when you do, it shows. And it's a goal. It's a goal. I know that in my years as an ICU nurse and all the different things I did, I believe I was caring. But did it always show? Did I often go the extra mile? I can't say I did it 100% of the time. But it was a goal. It continues to be a goal. And that's what makes, that's why that nurse is still doing what she's doing. Thank you. Thank you. If you ever check into the Travel Nurse channel, you know who you are. Okay, folks, I'm going to sign off. It's Rita at the Travel Nurse channel. I invite you to call me or check in on Tuesdays Pacific Standard Time at 10 a.m. Between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. we are live and streaming here on the Travel Nurse channel. And I can stream with many people, so call me, bring your friends, let's chat. We can talk about jobs you've had, jobs you want to have, people you've met, adventures you've had. What's your favorite travel nurse story? What's your least favorite? Excuse me, what was the ugliest day in your travel assignment? I've heard really some crazy stuff about apartments without running water and, just crazy things. But there's 1,000 stories out there, and I want to hear yours. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be archived if you want to check us out on Facebook or YouTube. We're the Travel Nurse channel. We're here for you. Thanks so much. I'm going to end here with my favorite commercial, the nurse in the sidecar. Bye-bye.
Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.